Welcome back to the Holmes Politicast. It's been a long couple weeks. I was out last week because it was my birthday and I was not going to do any streaming or any thinking about politics at all. So here we are. The primaries are done and the results are in. New information comes out about one of the candidates for mayor of Grand Haven, and the local paper seriously avoids reporting it. Like they are dead serious about it. We have the details here to fill in the lack of reporting. In other news, the community is in an uproar over the new administrative assistant and some mean things that he said. Interestingly enough, the same people mad about him are also the ones following Larry Jackson in his recall effort against Lucy Ebel. Larry Jackson made some very racist and sexist comments. What's the difference between the two? Well, political party. The Ottawa County Commissioners discuss some of the issues left to them by the previous board and point out the underfunded areas the previous board claimed to care about. The new board plans to look into remedies for that problem, and the commissioners also address the budget and look for ways to help trim it. Finally, one commissioner seems to be spending the budget cuts to suit his own views, and the other commissioners have to spend an abundant amount of time to correct and clarify that issue. I'm Don. This is the Holmes Politicast. All right, so you're here listening to this podcast, and why do you do that? Well, you may have noticed that the Holland Sentinel and the Grand Haven Tribune are basically the exact same paper. They have many of the same authors and many of the same opinions. They report on many of the same things and they avoid many of the same issues. Well, what you need is a podcast that will fill you in on the gaps that you're missing, make a complete picture. That is why this podcast exists. I find the information that the newspapers won't tell you. I watch the commissioners' meetings that it would take you hours to watch, and I fill you in on exactly what the commissioners are talking about that the paper doesn't want you hearing about. So uh, that is why subscribing to this channel, subscribing to the audio podcast that will keep you plugged in for just under 40 minutes a week, and you can be quite a bit more informed than the papers will allow you to be. All right, so moving into our show for the day, we're starting here with the primaries and the new mayor. So, um, despite all of my political experience watching politics for the last few years, I totally did not expect Mr. Manetza to advance to the finals. I thought that Andrea Hendrick would be squaring off against McNally or Genser. That is not the case. It is now Hendrick versus Manetza for mayor of Grand Haven. And a few things about one of the candidates has surfaced or been sent out as a mailer. It's interesting that the Grand Haven Tribune didn't report these things or talk much about them at all. So I just wanted to bring to our attention, some of the allegations made against Miss Andrea Hendricks. So it sent out, like I said, as a mailer, and this mailer says that whoops. So Lisa Chaffee Kaufman, it's a licensed child care provider in Grand Haven. She says, I was the child care provider for Andrea Hendrick's youngest child while she claimed to be working. Andrea would consistently show up late, insisting on driving her child home while noticeably intoxicated. There were several times that I needed to help that I needed to keep her child from her for the child's own safety, and other days where Andrea simply forgot to pick her up for the day. I do not trust Andrea to take care of our city. She is not fit to be our mayor. This comes, this mailer also comes with another side to it. Oh man, this is kind of hard to see. I might have to find the Facebook account that it came from, unfortunately. So the back is from a guy named Dennis Scott, where Andrea went after him, his career, as many people on the left are. Unfortunately, they do that a lot. People on the left will first go after your career, try to get you fired, try and make you shut up if you're saying things that they don't like or doing things that they don't like. And this isn't the only time Andrea has done this, actually. She obviously, we talked about her going after the Board of Light and Power, calling them a bunch of racists or not racist, sexists. They were sexists. Um, they were, discriminating against her. And the investigation went forward, and turns out none of that was true. They found that Andrea was not telling the truth on this. So that's just a couple of the allegations against Andrea. So it's interesting that again that the local paper didn't pick these things up and talk about them, and it could be because they wanted Andrea to win. I'm not going to say that that's for sure why they didn't report on these things, but I don't see another reason for them to avoid it. So make of that what you will. Bob Manetza is looking like the best option for Grand Haven, but I still hope to have an interview with Andrea and ask her about some of these allegations, some of the different positions that she takes. Um, Man, I wish I could see this better, but oh, there we go. Oh, she has been found. Okay, so here we go. Andrea serves on the Board of Light and Power. The vast majority of the employees of the Board of Light and Power have signed a resolution statement saying they do not support Andrea for mayor. That seems kind of newsworthy. Like a, a vast majority of employees of the Board of Light and Power signing a resolution. Um, Seems like eh, something newsworthy. Like the reporters um, could investigate that a little bit, right? You'd think a reporter would look into a claim like that. Campaign finance reports show that she is being funded by Lansing lobbyists and that most of her funding comes from the east side of the state. Why is it that Andrea can't get funding from this side of the state? I don't know. Um, she's been found to discuss Board of Light and Power business with council members, the press, and activists on her personal email. These personal emails constitute a breach of power and are serious misconduct for any elected official. So these are some they're serious allegations, but the paper doesn't seem interested in them. And I'm not even saying they're true. I'm not even saying that, like, definitely for sure Andrea is a drunk and you shouldn't vote for her at all. She's going to destroy this. Like, I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is, where is the paper to either verify or debunk these things? Here's what I think is if they were easy to be debunked, the paper would do it, right? If they were uh, demonstrably false, I think there's a good shot that those journalists would find a little investigative journalism in them and be able to figure it out. They seem to be able to find out a lot about, say, Republican nominees or Republican candidates, which is what we're actually talking about next. So, though the papers can't seem to be able to figure out what exactly is going on with the Grand Haven mayor, we have the papers. Sarah Leach, in particular, she is able to find out a ton about Mr. Jordan Epperson. So Epperson is he's the guy that Gibbs just hired. He he's looking to be the executive aide for the oh my goodness, what is Gibbs? I don't know, whatever Gibbs' job. I've got so many names rattling around up in my head, so many titles. County administrator. So he wants to be the administrator aide or the executive aide for the county administrator. Sarah Leach is able to scour his social media and find a whole bunch of things on him, which again, it's a good thing that we've got investigative journalists to find all these things out about Republicans. Where are they on the Democrats? So, Ottawa County's recent hire of senior executive aide for Administrator John Gibbs does not have the required qualifications the county sought in its description of the position, documents show, starts Sarah Leach. She goes on to say that the Sentinel confirmed that Gibbs hired Jordan Epperson. He's from St. Clair County. He's got a bachelor's degree from the Michigan State University. And that is the only qualification that he has. So Gibbs has said that this job, this uh, that he's doing is, he said it's like drinking through a fire hose. Um, so he needed somebody to help him process different things that he's looking at. And it may very well be that Gibbs needs this position filled. Um, what is so he says that he says that the previous board votes were often 11-0, and that's no longer the case, meaning that the administrator has to be more hands-on. That makes sense. He says, I'm not putting myself on the shelf. I don't think that would make very much sense. I understand that previously most of the votes by the board were 11-0. Now, there wasn't necessarily a lot of oversight or deliberation done on decisions, which is true, 100% true. I actually watched a board meeting a couple weeks ago, just to go back and like look at some of the board meetings, and I was kind of verifying one of the things that one of our commissioners said about the body cams, which I'll get to. Actually, I didn't have it on the list, but I do want to talk about that a little bit. So uh, it was interesting because they had a vote, and Matt Fensky obviously was the board chair, and he said, "All in favor signify by saying aye." Pause. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. That was how fast it was. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Like he didn't. He expected there to be no opposition. He was not even waiting for it. So here's the thing that I'm kind of concerned about, and something that I think a lot of Ottawa County residents are a little concerned about. Uh, the salary position, they've got a bunch of numbers here. The upgrade came at a cost of $37,349, raising the cost for the position to $132,218.89, including benefits. Um, Gibbs said the aide would help him take notes during meetings, organize follow-ups, and help him keep track of who he's met with. That's a big price tag. Whew, that's that's a lot, I guess, in a county's budget. So I would hope that it's justified. They go on to talk about now. See, here's where the investigative journalism is coming through. You can see that these people are capable of doing this. They get that 30. There were 30 total applicants. 22 of the applicants were female. 23 hold bachelor's degrees. 11 hold any type of master's degree. 15 had some type of executive aid experience. So they've got all this stuff on all these candidates. Um, it says that only one candidate appeared to have all five necessary qualifications the county was seeking. They didn't name that person, unfortunately. So then they go to slamming George Epperson. So they say that he's worked for political consultant for Victory Strategies. Um, they're able to do this deep dive into all these companies that he worked for, um, working with Matt Maddock and an associate of Project Veritas and all these bad right wing things and big league politics, far right media site. Um, talks about uh, support for Alex Jones and Roger Stone and Nick Fuentes, and they've got all this stuff, most of which doesn't really concern me. Here, the thing that concerned me is the price tag, and some of the things he said do concern me. So, he says in 2020, he said import women from Eastern Europe to make fat American women jealous. Women will only better themselves because of jealousy, no other reason. Yeah, that's a little concerning, I guess. It's more immature. I've probably tweeted worse in my time. He says, I also think it's dangerous to, quote, believe all women because men have a right to due process. There was no proof on Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. That one is kind of weird to include. Like, what is so bad about that? I don't know. I'm sure the Holland Sentinel will justify that being in there. Let's see. He also says in 2020, I think Mexico realizes that with how much the Dems want to open up the border and give amnesty, the Mexican population would decline at record rates and the country would be in more disarray than it already is. Again, I don't really see what is so racist about that. He says in 2019, it's good to hear someone with common sense on the other side instead of just saying, I'm a white guy, so I'm an evil rapist. So, pretty tame stuff. He also used the word retard a few times in his publications. Immature. I don't see any racism, maybe a little bit of sexism here, but nothing ridiculous. So what I'm really waiting for is Sarah Leach to come up with the opinion that we shouldn't be supporting Larry Jackson. Larry Jackson, you may remember, did I shut down the? Oh no, and you know what? I'll just go from here. So Larry Jackson, you may remember, we talked about him. He was the guy that is doing the Lucy Ebel recall. Um, he has some problematic things with him too, right? Some just a few things that might disqualify him from being seriously. I might have to switch my stuff real fast. So a couple things that might disqualify him from being trusted: criminal history, variety of offenses from more than 10 years ago. Let's see, carrying concealed weapon without a permit, DUI, providing officers with fraudulent ID. Let's see. He also has some posts on social media. He said, let's see. Says that they were containing lewd content, anti-women, and anti-Hispanic messaging. So they don't show the posts like they do for Mr. Epperson. which is kind of weird, but they admit that it's anti-woman, anti-Hispanic, so racist, sexist. It checks all the boxes. They're going to follow him anyway because he's doing something that they want him to do, right? So the difference between Epperson and Larry Jackson is what? Just political party. That's all it is. So unfortunately, Ottawa Impact Watchdog is unable to come to grips with that. They've got some of Epperson's posts here. They screenshotted it because they were like, "Oh man, this is so bad. This is so bad. We're gonna follow Larry Jackson all the way to the moon and back. We're gonna get this lady recalled, but this guy, he's really bad, Jordan Epperson." So again, I'm not making the argument that Jordan Epperson is good. I'm not. I'm really not. All I'm saying is that seems like there might be a bit, just a tiny bit, of a double standard. All right. Now we get to the commissioner meeting from last week, August 8th, on my birthday. They were meeting to celebrate me, right? No, they weren't. But they were meeting to discuss some of the um, budget issues. So they're going over the budget. And some interesting stuff came up. One of them being that the Veterans Affair Fund is super low. The veterans are not funded at all in Ottawa County.
I'd like to add, I think this is a huge opportunity for.
And here's Commissioner Joe Moss talking about that. This is going to be a little bit of an extended clip as I go to change out my headset.
The county, I'd say this probably should have been addressed long ago. The actual amount that's being spent to support veterans in Ottawa is extremely low. And when you compare Ottawa to Kent or Muskegon, I mean, we're talking the staff in Ottawa who are working extremely hard, doing their very best. It's a very unique setup. It's different than probably any other county. The staff who is work 1 day a week, and I think the total expenditure for that staff portion has historically been about $30,000 a year total. So we're comparing spending historically $30,000 for staffing related to Veterans Affairs, related to these other budgets that are $500,000 or $1 million or $1.5 million. I'd say this is a huge opportunity and long overdue. So I really am happy that this has come up.
So it is weird because previous boards have claimed to really care a lot about veterans and really want to help people with mental problems, and that a lot of veterans, I mean, like it's like something like 24% of the people with struggling with severe depression are veterans. So the fact that Ottawa County has such a low funding for veterans is kind of sad. So that's part of the budget, and I know some people have said, oh well, this this commission or this board of commissioners is not interested in mental health because they turned down that one mental health campaign that drives people to this website and uh, targets people on social media and all this stuff. Whatever. They've got the commissioners showed that the website was not necessarily something we wanted to send people to, and I think encouraging people to find help on social media might just defeat the purpose. I think social media might be actually contributing to the problem, but that's not really the concern for the people talking against Ottawa Impact commissioners generally, as I've shown the people speaking out against the Ottawa Impact commissioners might be doing so in bad faith, as they're saying look at Mr. Eperson and then also don't look at Larry Jackson. Bit of a double standard there again, but that's okay. Commissioners also talked a little bit about actually budget cuts, and so I think it was Mia Dima. No, it was Sylvia Rhodey. Was talking about, she. So this is going to be before Doug Zylstra comes on and talks about his opinion on the budget cuts, and we'll get to that in just a second. But this is Allison Miedema saying what she's looking for out of looking at the budget. Here she is, Commissioner Miedema.
But I think
Commissioner Rhodey.
it would be great to think about, what's a good, helpful experience for the person, not just, how can we save the most money? So, I think for a lot of that, we're gonna lean into your expertise on it.
Okay.
But I'd like your proposal about, getting a group together and talking about it some more
Mhm.
as we move forward. But I think, we want to take care of our people, not just check boxes.
Yeah.
So,
But I think it's
So they're talking about ADA compliance and really making sure that people in Ottawa County are cared for, having a minimum standard that's higher than, say the state minimum, maybe have a little bit higher of an expectation. She wants to really take care of the people, and um, I think that's honorable. That's something good that she is wanting to do, and so as they're looking at both becoming ADA compliant and trimming the budget a little bit, we had what almost seemed like an attempt to kind of shift the narrative a little bit, and that's what Commissioner Moss thought, and so there was this back and forth between commissioners Zylstra and Moss and um, Cosby. And so Cosby's saying maybe we can find ways to cut the budget, maybe we can find ways to scale back a little bit. And Doug Zylstra comes in and he says that he doesn't want to, he disagrees that we shouldn't scale back our services. Uh, Again, after Allison and other commissioners had just gotten done talking about, or not Allison, Sylvia and other commissioners have just gotten done talking about how they really want to, take care of our veterans, take care of our disabled people, take care of the people of our county. Kind of turns it back around on them, and so let's watch that. Oh, just a little bit of that exchange.
May I again attempt to finish my point? I mean,
So long as it's accurate.
I guess my point is my point, and I think I'm entitled to my opinion. You may disagree with my opinion, and you may think that it's wrong. But at the end of the day, I look at this budget, it provides X amount of services to county residents. And when you say, let's cut this budget by 5%, for me, you're cutting services by 5%. You may disagree with that statement. That's how I view it. Thank you.
So do you recognize that health systems cut their budgets by percentages in this very way? And health systems actually provide.
So there's pushback from the other commissioners, but it seems like, I mean, Doug knows, Mr. Zylstra knows the things that are in the budget are not just services there. They're county employees. They are himself. I mean, he gets paid from the budget, right? There are all the other commissioners. They get paid from the budget. There's this new administrative aide that gets paid from the budget. He's talked already about the legal counsel getting paid from the budget. He's talked about other things that are in the budget that are not necessarily services provided to people, building maintenance, building upkeep, um, building upgrades. There are many, many, many things that go into the budget. To boil it down to just we're cutting services, it just seems a little more simple than I know he is. I know he knows more goes into a budget. So actually, Joe Moss said that this is totally wrong, and what you're saying is probably going to be on the front page of the Holland Sentinel. Um, just kind of recognizing there that the Democrat Party and the Holland Sentinel kind of work hand in glove there, which I tend to agree with. But yeah, just that's kind of what's going on here in the county. Obviously, all the people that are very upset about Jordan Epperson getting paid more are totally 100% okay with characterizing the budget as as only services provided to people. Again, we've got this problem on both sides. Republicans do it and Democrats do it, that they boil things down to the most simplistic thing that will forward their agenda. We got to get away from that. I know everybody in this county on both sides is a little bit smarter than that. We don't have to boil things down to these things. Again, we don't have to boil Republicans, don't have to boil Democrats down to communists and um, Marxists. Democrats don't have to boil Republicans down to far right extremists and Nazis. We don't have to boil a budget down to services provided. Um, we don't have to boil a bunch of contracts down into well they need to be checked over by legal counsel. We don't need to continue to avoid having conversations, but it's kind of hard when some people are having the conversation in bad faith. And so I think that's one area where our county can do better. And I've seen a lot of anger on both sides and a lot of name calling on both sides, and it's just unnecessary. So that's what's going on here in Ottawa County for the week. So those of you listening here in Ottawa County, do your best next week to speak kindly. We're really not going to convince anybody by just calling them names, making them angry. So thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to be bringing you the information that you may not be getting from the Holland Sentinel or the Grand Haven Tribune. So until next week, we will just keep this county going. It's not going to fall apart before next week. We're going to be talking about the meeting that just happened today. I don't remember what it was, but we will discuss it next week. I'll also have a few clips coming out, just short little clips, a couple minutes each day. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're listening in on the podcast, the Podbean, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you're sharing us with a friend, because your friends need to be informed just as much as you do. Until next week, I'm A9 Down. This is the Homes Politicast.